Welcome to the space where creators have aligned a positive and intellectual collab of open minds. For sharing and learning from one another, it's a vibe. ReadswithRosa podcast on the mic. Subscribe, educator spitting bars. I guess you didn't know I'm multifaceted and humble, checking off life goals. The classroom is my comfort zone where I plant and sow seeds of knowledge, compassion, empathy, and hope. Reading is the key to unlocking your potential. Countless benefits, including cognitive and mental. Regardless of the genre, books are highly influential. Go get yours, I'll get mine. Making strides, monumental. Come rock with me and get down to this new jam. Reaching out to my friends, I had a very simple plan. Educate the masses through books and life lessons. It's the grand slam. I'm out. Sala Falava and welcome to the Reads with Rosa podcast. I am so excited to introduce today's guest. On our show, I am joined by an international school educator who is currently teaching in Hanoi, Vietnam. She is a grade level team leader for early years who has been living and teaching abroad for about 15 years. She is passionate about her work and is a huge advocate for children's rights and education. From Aotearoa New Zealand, it's an honor to welcome to the show my friend and sis, Adika Crémet. Kia ora, sis. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Oh, thanks for that kind and warm introduction. Feels like I'm back home. Lovely.
I'm so happy to see you. How are things in Hanoi? How's the weather over there? How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks. Well, the weather's getting hot here. It's getting hot. It's humid. Everything's ticking well. I mean, it's that busy time of the year for all teachers, right? We're heading into the end of the year, so we're gearing up a notch. But looking forward to that summer break. Oh, can't wait.
I
How about
hear
you?
you. I
How
hear
about
you.
you?
Same situation, sis. You know, this is that time of the year when I'm just looking at all these memes of teacher life. You know, at April, May, June, we're all counting down. Anyone who tells you they are not counting down to summer vacation, they're lying. Teachers
know.
lie. We're counting down.
I mean, do you remember that old meme about the owl at the beginning of the year and the end of the year?
No, tell
You
me.
don't know that meme? Oh
No.
gosh, that's
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
teacher meme. An owl at the beginning of the year, so sharp and smart, and then at the end of the year just frazzled and oh man, looking bad.
Yeah. We're about that stage right now. I'm gonna go look for that meme after this. We're right there. We're frazzled. That's where we are. Okay, so before we get into the show, I do like to ask our guests just to do a brief self-introduction.
Mhm.
Shout out your people. Who is Adika?
Well, kia ora. I don't think I will do my fucker papa on my on my
Please,
whole
please.
intro, but definitely, I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Rosa, for inviting me. I call myself a Kiwi because that's my home. Now I've lived the longest time in my life there in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Wellington is the place to be. Yeah, I'm a third culture kid. I'm a TCK. I moved a lot. I'm from Eurasian background. That means I've got Asian and European heritage. I'm married to a French guy. Been just moved here to Hanoi in Vietnam for the last 10 months, I guess. It's going really quickly. 10 months pass like the wind. Previously, I was living in China for 7 years. Good old COVID stories. I bet all of us have some. But prior to that, I was in Denmark for a few years. And then, of course, New Zealand for the majority of my time as a teacher and also growing up. That's me. I'm really passionate about education. I'm a children's rights advocate, and I love traveling and I love just meeting people and learning about other people. That's something I'm really, really passionate about. Yeah, that's about me. I think that's about it. I think.
Okay, and that's all good. Like, thank you for that introduction. We went into, what is the third culture kid or adult, and what those experiences were for you. Moving around the world, around the globe. I do want to start, however, in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Like, what was it like? What was your experience growing up in Aotearoa?
Oh, it was just amazing. I moved there at a later stage of my teenage years, just as I was about to turn 20. And it was life changing because I came to Aotearoa as a foreigner. I came there, I arrived, and I was meant to have a gap year. I was meant to have I was on a work holiday visa, like most people, thinking, oh yeah, I'm just gonna suss things out for myself. And then I decided to study and train to be a teacher. I found a Victoria University. That's where I studied and trained. Good old Teachers College. And yeah, I met a lot of people. I had to learn Maori and the island culture and languages. And I think what really struck me was the whole connection. I felt people were warm and embraced me just into their whānau, into their family. Like I remember spending time in the marae and having stays there and really digging deep into the culture. And what I love about the indigenous culture is that it's all about humanity. It's all about the earth. It's all about being grounded, and finding out who you really are. It's not even about where you're from. It's what's important is your family, what you bring to the table, that values that you put out there. And for me, that grew me up really quickly. It matured me, and I realized that growing up internationally and being a third culture kid was a conundrum in itself. I think everyone had this issue with identity. I shared this with another person not long ago, that it was hard to identify my own identity growing up, because to when I'm in a group of people who are like me, they think I'm not like them. And then when I'm in a group where I'm more like them, but I don't look like them, I'm still not like them. I'm always the elephant sitting on the fence. And people often put you in a box with how you look or how you speak or how you think, right? But when you are fluid, like when you are internationally minded, or you are brought up with a diversity of cultures or thinking or experiences, you don't have that fixed mindset. So sometimes to people, I was saying, to some people, I'm radical. To some people, I'm crazy. Maybe because I throw out ideas out there that people are wondering, why is she thinking that way? Because I've seen it happen and work in some cultures beautifully. I've seen it happen to some of my friends. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't I think of that? And that's going out of the box. So for me, it's like a superpower. I feel like, oh, I'm able to just be the fly on the wall and just kind of like, yeah, I've seen this before. I understand. And what's really special growing up in Aotearoa also, and unpacking the local culture, is also, it has a lot of connection to my Japanese roots, because I'm part Japanese. And there's that connection that brings me to kind of an understanding that, hey, we're all from the Pacific. There is that root that connects us all in some way or another. Some of the cultures and traditions just rings a bell. It just makes sense, and it just feels familiar. And so when I'm in a place where I'm not familiar, I'll always seek out people that connects to me straight away. Either they're from New Zealand, or they're from the islands, or they're from Japan, or they're from the Netherlands, because I haven't been Dutch, or they're from Indonesia, or like whatever that I feel is a part of me. But definitely New Zealand, it gives me my identity, and help me to understand who I am. So I'm feeling most at home when I say I'm a Kiwi, even though I've grown up and had different passports, or I'm even married to, for who I met in New Zealand. I met my husband in New Zealand, in Wellington, and it's just something unique about how people in Aotearoa identify themselves. I know that you have sometimes, you say, oh, I'm Pakeha, or I'm Maori, or I'm Samoan, or which is lovely, because you can choose to identify to a specific group, or you can say I'm Pakeha, or I'm Indigenous. And that doesn't put you in a box where you are better than someone else. I don't know. I just felt it's more balanced. But I might be wrong. I'm a foreigner too, in a certain extent, but all my friends from all backgrounds in New Zealand have been amazing. Family, my godfather's there. And he always said to me, like, roots is really important. Like 660, right? Don't forget your roots. That's one of my favorite songs.
Right.
Good old digs. That song really makes me feel good. Like, yeah, don't forget your roots. I have many
Mm,
roots like so many other people, and it's not root, it's roots. And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I no, I understand, and like you say, yes, you went to Aotearoa as a foreigner, but that is your story, that is your experience, and I did on that. I wanted to ask,
mm,
moving to Aotearoa, like after like early 20s, I was wondering, did you experience racism or like being a foreigner, like I have stories. I grew up, I was born and bred
yeah.
in New Zealand. And I was wondering, like, from your perspective, yeah, did you ever face any of that, deal with any of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, to be honest, I felt it at certain places, but not
Mm,
very much in Wellington. Like Wellington is
mm,
quite cosmopolitan, and even where I lived, in the suburb where I lived, it's quite international. There were like
mm,
different nationalities in my neighborhood. I remember that. I was in Karori, and then I moved to Newtown, and then I moved to Mount Vic, and then I went on to Cuba Street. And every suburb that I've stayed in or lived in, there's always like a different multicultural groups being represented in my community.
mm,
So I feel Wellington is more diverse. But when I go to Auckland, for example, certain parts of Auckland, I realize it's Asian populated heavy,
mm,
or you know, Pakeha oriented heavy. Like there are places where I see more clearly there's a distinct group of people who are
mm,
in that area. And if you are in the wrong area, I think you will get some kind of like comments or looks.
mm, mm,
Down south is the same. I would say the further south you go, the less colored people you see. In terms of my experiences in the past, I mean, I haven't been back for the last, I think, 10 years
mm,
now, so things might have changed. But when I was growing up and when I was living there, before I left. Yeah, I think that was the vibe I got.
mm,
And I was at that time, before I got married to my husband, I was dating a Kiwi, a Pakeha, and they are the most open minded and diverse people too. So I think it depends where you live. It depends who you are with as well, your company, and it also depends on how you are as a person. And there are always unfortunate experiences where you get the one offs. And I think I remember when I was younger, I was a bit more offended
mm,
because you're young and you're fiery and like you're like, why are you calling me this? And which is a normal reaction, right? Because you don't want to be labeled or judged or whatever. But then the older I get, I'm like, these people are just ignorant. They just don't
mm,
know who I am, and they're not my friend. And it's just sad that they're not as open-minded, or I guess exposed to all the different cultures and variety, diverse group of people, which is sad. But I feel it's also a matter of geographically where you're geographically located to. Like if you are in an isolated place, far
mm,
away from the whole world, you can get into your own bubble. Like you can feel like I don't need to know everybody else. I just need
mm,
to know the people I'm with and live my small simple life. So I think it's a matter of perspective, and it's a
mm,
matter of context, like, yeah, where you are, at what time, like it all has a context to it. Yeah, but when I was growing up there, and I lived when I was living there, I felt safe, I felt good, I
mm,
felt good, and belonged. Yeah, I was treated well. So
mm.
yeah.
Why education? Like you studied education there in Wellington. Like why? What was it about education that excited you, or did you have role models that you kind of were like, oh, that's definitely a path that I want to follow? Like, what was it that actually got you into uh, studying to become a teacher?
Yeah, I was sharing it this few days ago with someone else, and There are two factors actually. One, before I went to college, I was doing a bit of, part-time work uh, during the holidays, and I was actually working in a children's bookstore. So I started out, just working there, earning some extra money, and then I started to fall in love with the children's literature. I love the books, and I start reviewing them. And then the boss of the shop said, "Hey, you seem to like working here, and there's a storytelling session that you can maybe want to do with the kids and the parents, and give it a try." So that was one of my first experiences, really working with young children, telling stories and then doing some activities and getting to know the parents. And just from watching those interactions, just gave me a buzz, like, oh, this could be something I could do instead of working in an office or doing something else. And I like just watching children interact with their environment, with their surroundings, with people, with what they have. And I was intrigued. I'm like, oh, why is he doing that? Why is that kid doing that? And I was just intrigued, and I was young. And then I also grew up reading the book Toto Chan. I don't know if you've heard about this book. And this book just blew my mind. It just kind of like taught me that, there could be a possibility to work in an amazing school. Then when I reflected back, I told myself, I can't go back and change my schooling. I mean, I'm too old for that. But what if I can be part of that change and be an educator, and, and yeah, work with other people that have the same goal, right? The same dream, and make that thing happen, make that dream happen. It's kind of my radical dreaming. And yeah, and New Zealand, why? Because, well, I went there. The first reason I went to New Zealand was just, to be away from everything, from the world. New Zealand is so far away. That was the furthest place I told my family I would like to explore. And who knows that I'll be there for the longest time of my life. Went there, and then people were saying, oh, New Zealand has a very good education system, and they have a good reputation for training teachers. So yeah, just one thing after the other, I tried, I got in, and I have not regretted that since, because I'm still a teacher. I mean, actually, I'm coming up to my 18th year now. So it's been like, I have not changed my career. I'm still on that path. I call it a calling, I guess. Yeah, I'm just very blessed. I feel like, wow, I'm still loving what I do, even though it's hard, or even though it gets harder, or I'm stretched and pushed and nudged and pulled. I still enjoy it. I still see a value in it every day. I'm learning something new. So yeah.
And then you are now on the international teaching circuit, which
Yeah.
is a whole
A different ball game.
different ball game. I'm trying to think of how would I describe different ball game?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what has that experience been like? Because you've lived in different places, and you've taught there, you've grown, you've learned, you've
Yeah.
changed probably, and yeah, international teaching circuit. For
Yeah.
those who are curious and wanting to know, yeah, tell us
Yeah.
about
No, but it's thanks to my experiences in New Zealand, because what I love about being a teacher in New Zealand is that there is that real sense of belonging. The Tifariki curriculum, that's what we used. And I just love the whanaungatanga, the whole community spirit, and how the curriculum was bicultural, and everyone feels included. I think it could be expanded more. Biculturalism is a good start, to really honor the people of New Zealand, of Aotearoa. And I think there should be more inclusion, because New Zealand has just become diverse over time, right? It's become this multicultural nation. Everybody loves New Zealand. Everyone wants to go to New Zealand. And what I learned from being an educator in New Zealand is that there is that spirit of shared responsibility. People are always keen to help. I learned a lot from my elders. I used to work with ladies, women who are much older than me, but be it Samoan, Fijian, Maori, Paki, like everyone who were older than me were just so caring and nurturing and just encouraging, and just gave those really, wisdom from life experiences, even, not just textbook wisdom. And I think when you're in a job, like I call it educaring, we're not just teachers, we're caring, we're educating. You have to have some heart in it. You have to be human, because there's so many expectations out there. And then when you go into international education or international schools, the whole mindset shifts, because there's a lot more competition, a lot more expectations, and a lot more at stake. And what I learned quickly is that you're not just working with one group of people, you're working with a diverse group of people. You're working with a plethora of curriculums and pedagogies. You're working with people from all sorts of backgrounds. So humble start, when you're teaching, you just have to figure out where you fit in and what can you bring to the table. Again, it's back to square one. And I had to reflect, and I had to track down, okay, my humble beginnings as a teacher. I came from New Zealand, from a small town, Wellington, and I've been trained there. I worked there for a few years, and coming to an international school setting with all these nationalities and all this curriculum, with for me, it was a whole big game. Like, it was a huge shift. And I had to take my time. I had to just learn to be a good listener, and really understand what everybody meant, or how everybody was expressing themselves, because we're all so different. Um, so all those meetings and all those, sharing of ideas were really valuable for me. I learned quickly how different people think and how different people work. And then I had to figure out my working style. Like, how can I compliment this person? How would they compliment me? So after many years and a few different countries, and then going into leadership, that's another different game, ball game again, like, because another perspective, because you really have to take a step back, because if you want to lead people, you have to empower people, and you have to give people agency and a voice, and empower them and help them realize what they can do. So it's really interesting, because people always think, oh, being a leader, you have to control and you have to do everything. No, it's actually the opposite, because you want, many hands make work lighter, and you want everyone to be part of the work, so that everybody has a shared voice, a shared, a shared responsibility, and a shared sense of achievement. um, but it takes time. It took me time to just realize, oh, and cultures does matter. Like, culture really matter, because culture is in everything. It's not just in races, in racial culture. It's not just in, culture represents a lot: food, books, film, movies, thinking, actions. Like, there's a culture to everything, right? Like making thinking visible. There's a culture of thinking. Ron Richard said that, and I believe very much in how we think really affects how we behave, and then whatever cultures we come with impacts the way we kind of like make decisions. So it's a life learning process. It's ever changing. It's evolving, and your environment has that impact. The people you meet have that impact. But really, I'm learning to take more time and slow down and give more thinking time and listen more. I think that's has been my learning goals, especially being new this year, and my new school, which is amazing. And it's a huge step for me to go into a bigger school that's highly functioning and full of amazing things. And being in middle leadership, the first 6 months I had to do was listen, observe, and really thinking about thinking. It's a lot of metacognitive reflection. And now at 10 months, now after 10 months, I can say that I've got both my feet on the ground, and I think I am walking. I think I'm walking now. I'm not crawling anymore. I'm not just still at the door. I'm like, right, I'm inside, I'm walking. And hopefully next year I could pick up the pace, like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I really like what you say about like leadership as being like not having to control things, but understanding that it's shared responsibility, shared roles, shared voices, so that people, so that work, your colleagues or workers, fellow educators, that they understand too that their voices are just as important, and that they are being heard. So I really like how you said that, and I was wondering about your role, as a grade level team leader. Does that mean that you're doing not as much teaching as you're used to? Like, what's the balance here? Like, could you tell us a little bit about what your role entails now that you're no longer crawling, but now that your feet are actually on the ground? Just
Yeah. Yeah, you got that right. Thanks for asking. Well, I still work full time as a homeroom teacher, so I work
Mm,
equally with all my other teammates. Um, the the added thing that I have to do as a team leader is really bringing people together and being that middle person. I guess disseminating all the information and creating that collaboration and inclusiveness amongst my team, and bringing everyone together, I think, and just to make the boat sail smoothly in the right direction. That's how I see it. And everyone has a role. Everyone has their strengths and their skills, and it's been really humbling. My team has been so wonderful. They've been open and welcoming, and they understand the role I have on top of teaching full time. And I have the loveliest supervisors who are mentoring and nurturing, and I could go to them and ask questions. These are my norms this year, posing questions um yeah, just um assuming, presuming positive intentions, and just trying to figure out how things work. This is my goal this year. How do things work? I mean, my own personal inquiry, um, at where I am. And what's really great is everyone just loves their job. Everyone loves coming to work. Everyone loves what they do. And I feel together people are wanting to learn, wanting to grow, wanting to thrive. That's our tagline at school this year. And the community is strong and guided by those values we have at UNES: community, integrity. Everyone just wants to chip in. Everyone just wanted things to go well. So my role as a grade level leader is really to make that happen. And how I told myself I can't do it by myself. I need to do it with the team. So,
mm,
just as I go along, I learn a lot about my team. They learn a lot about me, and just making those little tweaks here and then, how we meet, how we think, how we discuss, how we have dialogues, how we approach things, how could we solve problems together, or how can we support one another, and not just within our team, but also with other teams.
mm,
And just those small things, and creating more opportunities to collaborate and also deliberate, having that time to really reflect and figure things out, has been a powerful process. And I could be myself, and that's something I appreciated. Like, I was so stressed, and I was giving myself stress, thinking, oh, I have to do a lot of things, or maybe it could be something so challenging because I'm a new person coming in and I'm a team leader of a
mm,
very, very effective team. This is a very effective team, a highly functioning, effective team. But everyone has been so gracious and kind and welcoming and open minded and ready to just run with a lot of great things. We're learning along the way, and we're making some progress this year. And we look forward to more learning and progress next year. Can't believe it's been nearly a year there. And when I see my team happy and celebrating small things, especially when we're celebrating students' achievements, or progress with things that we've been wanting to advocate for a long time,
mm,
that makes me feel right. I think I think we're on something good here. I think we're doing good. you know yeah, to me
mm.
that's really important as a leader, like knowing that your tribe, your group is feeling the same way as you are, having that same notion. Yeah.
Love that. I wanted to Something that I really enjoyed when I went to the ALOC conference in January was listening to the program that you have at your school, where you're working with the local teachers, local Vietnamese schools. How rewarding is it that take uh, you can take UNIS educators out into the community to do the advocacy work, to build other communities, to work alongside local Vietnamese schools. Like, it must be so. I mean, I was in that presentation and I was super excited just to see the amazing things going on. So, how cool is it? How rewarding is it to be able to do that? You know.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, credit to Natasha and Miss
Mm,
Nyok who actually piloted this program. I mean, it's just phenomenal to have that local connection, and being new to the school this year and being part of it. I just felt so rewarding because when you meet these teachers, right, these local teachers, they're so keen to learn. They really want to be the best teachers they could be for the children they work with, and being able to share those knowledge and work alongside them and have this amazing discussions and dialogues about where they are in time, what are their learning goals, what did they want to strive and achieve, what have they done. I mean, some of these teachers are incredible. They're so talented and skillful, and they're hardworking, and they really want the best for the kids. They value education here a lot. And for me, like, we just finished our ESUP visit this week, so the local teachers came and spent the week with us in our different classrooms, and they were quick learners. They wanted to share a lot about their culture. They were cooking some food with the kids. They were reading in Vietnamese. They were teaching us a few crafty activities that they are so crafty. They could make anything out of paper. Man, they are so smart. Like, I'm like, wow, you made a pop-up card in like 10 minutes with all this colored paper. It just blows my mind because like, there's so much opportunity, so many opportunities, so much potential. When you collaborate, you can produce some amazing partnerships. um, and I like how we have a two-way thing where we also visit their school and learn from them,
mm,
um, and they are trying to be more inquiry based, like us, play based inquiry and learning through play, because um, the curriculum they have is quite a structured curriculum, just like a lot of schools do in Asia, and more, I guess, more directed to teacher led approach rather than based on children's interests or play based inquiry, or there is a lot of responsibility and expectations lies on the teacher rather
mm,
than going with the flow. There's no going with the flow. It's about what are you bringing to the kids. This is what the parents want, so it's a lot of pressure. But I think it's changing with time, and I think with the partnership with UNIS Hanoi, I think it's giving them that advocacy, that agency, that they are able to change because we are respected in the community. But with this partnership, hopefully we can help them and elevate them so that
mm,
they can become really, the educators they want to be. I guess this is my hunch, and I'm really happy. I'm really impressed that Eunice is doing this because it took a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort between two parties, right? Between the local schools and with our school. Um, so I like that because I feel that is contributing back to the community, to the host country, in that sense. Yeah.
mm. I wanted to just ask before we move on about you in the classroom. You as a classroom teacher, like, if I was a fly on the wall, what would I be hearing or what would I be seeing? I know you're so, and you're like, I remember meeting you. You're so full of energy and enthusiasm, and it really uplifts whoever is there. And I felt that, so I was just like, sis, what is it like if I was a fly on the wall in your classroom? What would I be hearing or seeing?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, at any time you come into my room, depending on the timing, if you come in first thing in the morning, um, it will be a busy
Mm.
looking classroom because we start off in the morning usually with some singing. We have our morning meeting, so we'll do the calendar and prep the kids up for the day. Like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna figure out the date, the weather, the day. We're gonna figure out the schedule. What does it look like today? We're gonna check if everyone's here and put themselves on the school bus. We have a little attendance chart where they ask who's present, like me, I'm present, and they'll put their face on the school bus. It's quite funny. They love it, and we'll do a bit of math in the process. And then I'll explain to them there's some provocations available for them to explore. So there'll be 5 areas that they can choose and do. And so off they go. And at this time of the year, there's a lot of independence and budding, how do you call that? Kids who are more capable than before, I would say, from the beginning of the year. So you'll hear a lot of questions too, a lot of questions. My 4-year-olds are really into questioning at the moment. There'll be a lot of laughter, a lot of I want also, a lot of I need, I really want to, and a lot of negotiation with some of my 3-year-olds. But everyone will be buzzing. There'll always be a bookmaking corner. There'll always be an art corner where they're painting or doing collage or cutting, and there will also be a sensory area, play-doh or finger paint, or and then there'll be free play, and then there'll be construction play, all those different areas that are important for kids. And the dramatic corner I'll be buzzing too. Yeah, we give them agency. So first thing in the morning, exploring, and that's also the time where I do a lot of my observation, and watch and see what they're up to, what connections are made, are being made, what relationships are being built, what ideas have been generated, and that's the time I get to have some korero time with my kids, do some conferring. And now some of my kids are reading, so they're reading to their friends in the corner, in the book corner. It's exciting in the morning, and we always get visitors coming in from either admissions or other classes. So yeah, our morning is buzzing before we go to snack, and then we head off to specials, which is usually art or Vietnamese or PE or music. We go to one of each, and then yeah, the kids are busy. They keep busy. They're pretty good. So you won't be bored for long. Someone will seek you out. You're on the wall, and someone will seek you out. In my class,
Someone would get a fly swat, huh? I
oh,
imagine
you
your kids are those kids, eh?
oh, here's some protein. Oh, let me just put that in my mouth. Like,
um, I want to ask, okay, so when people talk about international school teaching, we only, a lot of the times the conversation is around the actual teaching part, as educators, our job, our roles, responsibilities. But we don't really talk about the actual transition, moving from country to country. And I wanted to really touch on your experiences. Like, what are some thinking now and reflection on the countries where you've lived and you've now it's been 10 months in in Vietnam, in Hanoi. Like, what are some strategies that you've kind of like put in place for yourself now that you're in is it your third country? Third,
yeah.
like, clearly when you started, you probably were like really trying to find yourself, trying to figure it all out. But now being in your third country, what are some strategies that you've put in place so that that transition has been a lot easier this third time around, like in reflection? Because I feel like people don't talk about this. They just think we magically move, sweet, we're good, we're working, all is fine. But, culture
That's
shock, all of that. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, being in a third country as an international educator. Yeah, it's really interesting because I see transition in many ways.
Mm,
Like culturally, that is something that I seek out. So if I know where I'm going, I will do a bit of homework.
mm,
And I'm quite fortunate that I have diverse friends where I can just check and ask questions, or I read, or the internet is a good place to search a few pointers or some important or valuable information. But also what I'm learning as I've moved a lot growing up too is like, really, when you move, you have to think like a local in certain ways. And I work with the youngest age group, right, of kids. So definitely the most important thing, even though if we have a language difference or a culture barrier, it's really finding that sense of belonging,
Mm.
is having that warmness and being open and receiving and welcoming to those kids and families. Because at the end of the day, I think parents want the best education for their kids, but they also want someone they can trust to care for their kids every day. So you need to be open, and you need to be ready to have that partnership with families, and be vulnerable, and really um, be authentic and really make that genuine relationship and get to know them really well. Like it could be as simple as finding common connections or similarities, like food, for example, or places we've been, or things we like, and when kids figure that out, that, oh, you're not that different than my family or than me, you instantly get that, trust, and that feeling of relief, I guess, from my experiences watching how kids transition to a new place, a new country, a new school, new people, new big people, um, and just speaking the language. And that is what they like, what can they do, what do we have in common, um, and just treating them like equals. Like I call my kids, hi, my respected friend, or my valued friend, or my dear friend, and they like that. They call me Miss Adika all the time, but sometimes they will say, "You're like my friend,"
Mm.
and to me, I know that that's something meaningful as a teacher, as an educator, that you've built that relationship beyond just in the classroom. They feel safe, right? And my three philosophies are being happy, safe, and learning. If children are not happy, they don't feel safe and they won't learn. They would feel threatened. They would feel out of sorts, they will feel out of place, and that leads to learning difficulties, right? Challenges in learning. So my duty, or my role as a teacher, as an educator, is to make that happen, is to make sure that every day when they come to school, they feel happy, they feel safe, and they will be learning, they will learn. And having the same understanding, and extending that same principles, that same goals to families back home. Like we said, you need to also have the um, same goals, shared goals with us as we are in school, and this is universal. It can be in any country, but if you can just focus on those three goals, I think you could easily transition into any culture. Of course, it helps if you know the same language, or you have the same cultural background. Like me and the Japanese kids, we hit it off like like hotcakes. Did you eat onigiri today? Yeah. Did you have, like, there's just certain group of kids that you just, because, and like I was living and working in China before, so with some of the Chinese students, they could come up and we could practice some Mandarin together, or, oh, do you remember when you were in China? Did you eat this? Did you have
Mm.
this? So like those kind of things do build bonds and do strengthen relationships and make it more extra special, I guess. But truly it's more about what's the intention in your heart and in your
Mm.
mind, and what you want to provide for your kids, for your students. That's the most important thing.
Mm.
And then everything else builds up and adds on and adds value to the whole process of settling in, finding a sense of belonging, transitioning, learning, and for them to figure out who they are too, as who they are, as themselves, and as a learner, as a student. Yeah, I think it all
Mm.
adds up, right?
Outside of school community, as you reflect on your years abroad, has it been difficult for you uh, to find community outside of school life?
Hmm.
Like, what are your thoughts around that? Are you, yeah, like,
Well, that's a good question. Definitely, it's been difficult, because I can't just say I want to join a Japanese group or a Korean group, because even though I'm part of that identity, I'm not like them.
mm,
Or it could be, oh, I would like to join a teaching group. Um, but teaching has different degrees and variations. Like where would you put yourself in? Like you can't. I felt like I couldn't just figure out a group. So community for me has been just random. It could be
mm,
neighbors. It could be a sporting group, or it could be just people I met having coffees or tea with some ladies. But it has been difficult because I couldn't identify with one particular group or, um, I guess, yeah, I just couldn't. Um, yeah, you just feel more inclined to being with internationally minded people, or just people from everywhere. Like, I
Mm,
stopped seeing people like where they come from or who they are as in the background. I just like hanging out or being with people that just have similar interests or
mm.
similar passion or similar goals of what they want to learn. So yeah,
And
that's how
what
it's
sport do
been.
you play? What sport do you play then? Have you
I don't
maybe?
play many sports anymore. I'm getting old. I should be. I used to love playing badminton. When I was in Shanghai, I used to join a badminton club. I love tennis, so I used to join tennis. And then when I was back in New Zealand, I was always in any netball or rugby group.
Ah, yeah.
Um, I like
Ah,
sports. I like sports, but
yeah.
more watching now. I'm getting older.
Yeah, because I read I googled your name and this interview came up and I read that in the interview that you want to meet Roger Federer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's, I mean, he made my husband jealous. Like, come on, he's the best sports person out there. Oh, I'm being biased. No, that's not true. Take it back. I mean, there are many good sports people out there. And I have to be fair. I have to be fair. But he's a good athlete. I mean, he's fair. He's kind and he plays well.
If anyone is watching the ReadswithRosa podcast right now and you have connections to Roger Federer, help my sis out, please.
Yep. Please. That would be great. No, just kidding. But yeah.
Yeah, let's just touch. I want to go back to how you mentioned third culture kid, now an adult. For those who don't understand this term, what it is being a third culture kid. Are you able to just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so third culture kids are usually children who are born not in their home country, and often live in different places with multiple cultural backgrounds or heritages. Similar to an adult, the culture adult, you spend most of your time outside of your native or passport country. And yeah, it's very common. It's becoming more and more common now
I
as the
think
world is
so.
becoming more international. I think no one is not a third culture person anymore. I mean, we are living in the new age and time where everything just so interconnected, right?
Yeah, I
Mm.
never heard of it until did international school teaching. I was just like, huh? And then realized that there are many children, learners who are third culture kids. Yeah, it's just, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are one too.
Thing.
You're TCA.
I didn't think about it like that though. So when I hear people talk about it, I don't think of it like that. But it's so interesting to hear um, how other adults or even students, talk about it, like how they consider themselves to be a third culture kid or adult. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yes, but it's good that it's becoming the norm so that people feel we are similar. We're not that different. We're living in
Mm,
the same age, and it should be. It's healthy, especially if you're in an IB world school.
mm.
Um, we are identified more as international minded people, and we should be,
It
because
should be.
we're all transient. We are moving all the time, even throughout education, our experience, even the food we eat comes from somewhere else. I mean, we are all part of the same group, I guess, same movement. I don't know. We're all international. We're all global citizens. We're not just.
Educators are lifelong learners. Upskilling, as busy teacher life. How do you find time to upskill? I remember reading a tweet. Oh man, was it a few weeks ago? Maybe a month ago. Who knows? It's that time of the year when you lose track of all time. But I remember reading a tweet where you got accepted just recently into a program, leadership. certificate of leadership, something like that at Harvard. See, now I'm making things up. But congratulations. Tell us about finding time to upskill.
Oh, cheers. Thank you. Yeah, it's a certificate program for leadership with Harvard Business School and Harvard Graduate School of Education. It's a certificate program that has 4 modules about leadership. I was sharing the other day with a friend. It's about, leading people, leading change, leading innovation. And I think that's really important in education these days, right? And I'm excited to learn more about it because as educators, we have to be lifelong learners because if we want to teach our students and impact their lives, we need to make that call ourselves. We need to learn. We need to keep learning. We need to keep going with the evolution of teaching and learning. And the way we were in school before, so and the way students are learning now is two different worlds. We're at a different side of the spectrum of the line. I mean, the continuum has just grown, right? And somehow you feel with time, children just getting more and more knowledgeable. And so as teachers, we have the responsibility. We need to upgrade ourselves. And for me, PD is really important. If you are in a school that promotes PD, professional development, do it. Take advantage of it because you're learning with others. You're not learning by yourself. And the more you learn, the more you know, and the more you can give or the more you can do. And that's amazing. But if you just do the same thing again and again and again, you'll feel like a dry piece of toast. Like you just feel like, oh gosh, it's the same old stuff. And one day you're gonna break, you're gonna crack because you're not keeping up with time. And you need to constantly add something to your kitty, to your basket. I remember this one of my professors at university. You got to keep adding up to your kitty. And we're like, why? Because there are holes in the kitty. So there's so many things you can keep, but there's also so many things that can seep out of those little holes. Because like with the weaving mat reference, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. As we grow older, there are things we forget, and there are things that we need to unlearn because they are practices that might seem good at that time, but with time now, those things might be bad for our students now. It just doesn't fit anymore. So you have to make room for new learning, for new growth, a new understanding, and new knowledge. So I really value PD. I really value continuous learning because that makes you a more confident and more capable person to be. For me, for myself, like if I want to continue being a good teacher, I have to continue to upgrade myself. Just like a car, your brain and your health. These two are the most important thing to keep upgrading in your lifetime.
Okay, so then the brain and your health. That leads us right into the next question. Self-care is something that we are in a profession which is just super, super busy. Although earlier I really liked how you were talking about, the new role that you're in, new school, and how you learned this year to kind of step back, observe, listen. Self-care though, self-care, how do you look after yourself? Can you switch off when you go home, or are you always thinking about work 24/7? Don't lie, sis. Don't lie. Be honest.
I have to say, being an educator is not the perfect. You don't have the perfect life, right? You are involved in your work because you're working with children. You're working with people. It's not a job, an office job like 8 to 6 or 9 to 5, where you go home and I don't need to see my computer or check my paperwork. But what I'm learning as I'm getting older or better at my job, I guess, because you have some experience now, is to prioritize tasks, like to really figure out at the beginning of the day, what are the me things I have to do? What are the we things that we can do? I can delegate with my team. What are the things that I don't need to do today and that can go tomorrow? And I try my very best as soon as I finish work and come home. If I don't have to do any urgent work that day, I do not open my computer when I reach home and just spend time with family or myself. And what I like to do is usually cook. I like cooking. Cooking gives me that sense of relaxation, but also you have a reward at the end. You get to eat your food, so that's quite nice. like calling a friend, going for a foot massage sometimes, or just what I like to do every Saturday morning is doing some reflecting, like journaling. That has helped me, really settle into a new country, a new job, a new role, and just thinking about what I have done, learning from what things I should be doing more or should not have done, or what I did well. Like, okay, this worked well. So a lot of reflecting. So that gives me the mojo, I guess, the next set of tools for me to go into the new week. So now being 10 months, I feel, yeah, it's getting easier to make more time for myself, starting to build community. So I'm starting to see people, having coffees here or breakfast or going for a walk or joining some association. Like here, there's a group called Friends of Vietnam, and they do a lot of historical walks or craft making workshops. So those are some things I would like to do. Like recently, I went to a pottery class. Man, it was hard. I'm not a potter at all. I've got this massive giant fingers. I'm like, oh gosh, I have respect for these people. But those kind of things, is self-care to me. Or even just having just some quiet time, having a bath, for example, and not having anyone around me, or just mornings I have my quiet times too. Before I start work, I make sure that I have 20 minutes of me time, just meditating and reflecting on how the day, just having that vision, how would the day be, how is it going to be, and having some goals, in my mind. So I know that, okay, this is what I'm going to do in my classroom, this is what I'm going to do as a team leader, and this is what I'm going to do when I get back as myself. So I started to learn to prioritize. That's how I'm keeping my balance. But I could be doing more. Like, for example, I would love to do more sports or find more time to, catch up on sleep sometimes. Because when you think a lot, you can't sleep much. But I think it's also with age. I'm getting older. So yeah, I need to work on that. But yeah, no, I think I'm in a good spot. I'm in a sweet spot. I am settling in. I love what I'm doing. I'm learning a lot. I feel like I've grown a lot in the last 10 months being here, in both my job and also being here in Hanoi. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what's to come next year, really. Yeah, people have set me up for success, which I'm really grateful for. I appreciate all the people around me has really made me feel welcomed and supported. Yeah.
Do you have any book recommendations? Any book that you've read recently that you want to share, or a favorite? Can be a
Yeah.
favorite childhood book. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, childhood book.
Or a favorite. It could be a book to do with work. I don't know.
Quite a
Any
lot, but
book?
I did pick three books, Rosa.
Okay.
First, when I started teaching in New Zealand, I love Lily Dot, so Harry McClary series
Harry McClary.
are my favorite go-tos when I'm teaching, or my kids will always say, "Can we read Harry McClary, Miss Adika?" Okay. Well, secretly, I love Slinky Malinky, the tough cat. I mean, man, she's the boss, right? Like, yeah. So I love Lily Dot, and I love Harry McClary and Friends. Um, but I have to give a shout out to my colleague Gary.
Yes.
This book
Shout
on
out. Shout out to the bro. Yes.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's phenomenal. Just reading this book inspires me. I'm like, I want to write a book too one day,
You should.
and we could do it together.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And even as I'm reading this book to my kids, they are thinking and they're asking questions about who they are. So it has a strong impact. So thank you, Gary Gray. You've given us another window of hope of where we come from. And also this week we celebrate a book week at Eunice. So Ogemora, shout out to Ogemora.
Wow.
Our kids love her books, but this is one of her rarest books that is not commonly found. But I managed to get myself a copy, and it's called The Older Student: How Mary Walker Learned to Read. And she learned to read at a very old age. And this book is inspiring. It's as inspiring as reading Malala and Words of Wisdom. You're never too old to learn.
Oh.
And it's written by Rita Lauren Hubbard and Oge Mora. And Oge is amazing. I just met her. And yeah, So this is a bit of her timeline.
Wow.
She learned to read at 16 years old.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, and I got all my books autographed by Oge and Gary.
Oh, that is awesome.
I know I like what Gary said. I said, to Adika, thank you for being you with lots of love.
Oh.
Um, I think it goes to everyone. For everyone, thank you for being yourselves. I mean, we need more people like yourselves in this world, not someone else. So yeah, these three books. I mean, these two books especially has been inspiring to me and my students. Um, and meeting them in real life really gave me food for thought. Like books have a big impact on our lives, same as music.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the power of literature, right, is really
Mm.
powerful. But I also like the Maui books. I mean, I told the kids about how Maui stopped the sun, and my students, they're not Kiwis. Like, how? Just with that dagger, just with that rope, he could stop the sun. No, we can't do that. It's not strong enough. Then they started thinking
Yeah.
scientifically, which is cool because now it's AI, right? What
Mm.
if we do a laser thing? And oh God, I'm like, this is a legend, friends. Maui is a legend, but those stories really brings the best of the kids, right? Yeah.
Mm. Oh, those were really good book recommendations, and of course, mentioning the Maui books. Thank you so much. I have one more question before we wrap up the show. If a book was written about you,
Oh
what would
gosh,
it be called? Do you think? If you can answer, I don't know if you can answer, but
I don't know. If I was a book, golly,
yeah, what would a book be called if a book was written about you? What would the title be?
unexpected surprise.
Hey, unexpected surprise. I'm writing that down. Look, I'm writing that down in my Eunice notebook right now.
I don't
Unexpected.
know, or a really bad a bag of bad flavored jelly beans. I don't know.
Well, I'll just leave that there with you. I know you're not going to stop thinking about it until you come up with the perfect title. And
Ah,
maybe later on you can be like, I figured it out. So um, I'll leave that with you. I'm just, I just want to have say some final words, and then I will hand it back over to you, sis, just to kind of wrap us up with a final quote or words of encouragement, final words of wisdom. Before I do that, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been so much fun just to sit and listen to your journey, to your experiences and stories. Thank you for being open to sharing. I know it's so random. we really, fam, if you are watching or listening, we met in January at the ALOC conference in Hanoi, Vietnam. You know, when you see people and then you just click, that's what happened. I'm excited to see how you continue to just take charge and just do it all at Eunice. You're amazing, sis. Keep going strong. Lots of love coming out to your family, and just finish the year strong. Like you said, we're at that point now. We're at the frazzled part of the year. It's April. We're just counting down to the end of the year. So, stay strong, keep working, look after yourself. And yeah, I'm just so grateful you came today. And I'm going to hand it back to you to wrap us up.
oh, thank you. I have warm feelings, fuzzy feelings now. Rats. I'm kidding. No, but thank you. It's been a blessing to meet you, and ALOG was just amazing. Shout out to Kevin Simpson and Eunice Hanoi for making this happen for us all. It was like a playground for us, a safe space. It was a happening place. Get together with everybody who's in the same boat or same shoe, I guess. It was special and it was really great to meet you too. And yeah, no, my final words, I guess, is thank you for having me. It's really humbling to be able to share and talk and have this discussion, this corridor about what it means to be a teacher, what it means to be part of this work is service, right? What we're doing is service. We are serving our children and serving our families and the community in the best way we can. So one of the things I would like to share is always remember that you're not alone. We all belong to a community. We be it a teaching community, be it a community with your own family or friends, or where you live. Just never ever think you're alone, and it's always okay to ask for help or support or learn something new. And you're never too old to learn. This is my I should tattoo it to me somewhere, because it helps me to not feel, um how do you say, feel pressured or feel like you're not good enough, because sometimes you have this syndrome, this imposter syndrome, where you think, oh, you're not good enough, or it's too late, don't do it. No, it's never too late. Who said, who said that you can't do this? Who said you can't have that? That's not for someone else to say, because it's your choice, it's your life, it's what you do. And also, if we're giving students agency, we need to give ourselves the agency to become better educators and better people. So yeah, teach with heart, I would say. Um, and and it's okay to be vulnerable. I think it's the best thing you can do as a human being is be yourself, and not be afraid to make mistakes or to be judged, or to be misunderstood. It's good. Then you open up dialogue for more discussion and have those cognitive conflicts, and come out better. Better, you are allowing yourself and others to learn more about something that could be, that touchy feely subject. But once you get it out there, you will feel good because everybody will be on the same page.